Ready?
Indeed. Yes, we're good now.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order on May 12th at 7:11. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order, imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Youth Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Okay. So the first item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from the April 7th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the meeting for April 7th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, I'll call on people. It says Mary Dombacher, Beth Dombacher,
Aye.
Susan Butka,
Aye.
Sarah Mikas,
Aye.
and Marguerite Landry.
Aye.
Great. Okay. The next item is the director's report. Let me, just pull up that packet. I've got so many things open here. So just to highlight some things that are on there, we are winding down our strategic planning process. So we've been doing a lot of work there, which I know we will be talking a little bit more about later in the meeting, specifically around the results of the community needs assessment and the draft goals that we've come up with. The other thing that's kept us quite busy in the month of April is preparing for Mental Health Awareness Month. In fact, there are some things on here. There are some additional pieces that are not listed on here for Mental Health Awareness Month. So while it doesn't look as it typically does from one year to the next, we have, Shannon's worked very hard to prepare offerings for the community in other ways. So Shannon, do you want to talk about that really quick? And I know there was an additional piece to mention as well. Sure. It looks like Storytime actually did make it onto the director's report. I wasn't sure of the timing. So
okay, great. So we started the month off with the animal cuddle party at Chestnut Hill Farm, and that was fun, but we didn't really reach too many or any Southborough folks. But anyway, it got us started with outreach tables. The Community Happiness Project is underway, and I'm hoping to just find out from you guys if you've seen anything. I know Sarah, I think it was Sarah, you said that you had.
Yeah, I've delivered a couple things to
Nice.
To people in the neighborhood and other friends who I know have had a tough time. And it has been well received at the preschool. It's being incorporated into our curriculum over the next 2 weeks. And we're going to be creating cards and painted rocks. We haven't really, we think we're going to do smiley face rocks and leave them on people's doorstep. We can walk around with the kids. We're actually thinking of going over to the senior living area if we can wrangle the kids across the Catholic church parking lot and whatever. But the whole team of teachers is very excited. This is right up our alley. So
That's awesome. And they'll love that. That's, I do meals over there too. So at the apartment, so that would be very well received.
yeah,
Over there.
I think it would be fun to get the kids actually over there and drop off cards and smiley face rocks, pet rocks at people's houses.
Cool. Great. So we'll be doing the community read on, I don't know what the date is. 27th, is that right?
I think it is, yeah.
I think so too.
You'll have this all memorized, Shannon?
No, I don't. Yes, the 27th. The 27th, we'll be doing the community read. That's at 7 p.m. We're going to be doing a story time for the littles, outdoor in person. It's an in-person event.
That's awesome.
Yes, on May 21st. That's at 10:30 in the morning. And not on there is the coalition is going to be kind of sponsoring 2 talks that Dr. Safdar Medina is going to be doing. So he's doing one that's on, it's called like.
It actually, I'm sorry, I have to apologize. It did make it onto the director's report also.
Just kidding.
It ended up when, if you go to the end of the highlights, it says what's coming up next month. So those, the story time and Dr. Medina's talk were the latest additions to Mental Health Awareness Month. So it must have been like simultaneously that we were writing it and when it was planned.
So I had a question on that because I thought that you guys had decided, or you ladies had decided to put a pause on talks because of low attendance. So I was, I thought it's important, 2 important subjects, but I was also a little like confused. Yeah.
So that's actually not necessarily from Youth and Family, like we're helping to make that happen, but it's the Northborough Southborough Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition that decided to do this. And it was like perfect timing because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. They're hoping that somehow they can involve the seniors at school, the seniors in high school, to be able to participate somehow. I don't know how attendance is going to be, Beth. So far, not a lot of people have signed up.
Yeah.
So
it is a free event. Dr. Medina is
Right.
volunteering his time. So
yeah,
the other reason why the group was really interested in having that is because seniors are getting vaccinated now and on the verge of graduating. And so there was some concern about lots of celebration and what that might mean. So that was why the group thought that it was also timely.
Right.
When is that again?
Because
I'm sorry.
it's 2 different nights. One will be on the 20th. Let's see, the 20th is the one that's called Cannabis in the Teen Brain.
Thank you.
And then the following Tuesday night at 7:30, they're both at 7:30, is Teens and Alcohol. The Forgotten Epidemic, I think is the name of it. And they're both via Zoom. So.
So we're kind of trying to closely monitor how many people are registering for the talks, and we did share our wisdom around trying to offer things on Zoom, but the group really wanted to give it a try to see if we could get some.
And it is free. So.
It is, yeah, which is different from the speaker series.
Yeah. So how about the hikes? When are the hikes?
So I wasn't able to get in contact with the what are they, the Trails Commission or the Trails Committee?
Committee, yeah.
That we had talked, they were like, yeah, that sounds really exciting. Let's get back together. And they're out straight this month because I think they've got some stuff going on for town meeting as well. They had or they didn't want to do things for Mother's Day. They had some Boy Scout things going on. So it was like a really busy month for them. So what we're hoping for is that by Friday, they're going to give us like a one-pager about trails in town and getting outside and things to do in Southborough kind of thing. And on the flip side, we'll have some information about the benefits of being outside. So another thing that we did this month is that we had some really beautiful bags made up that have our logo on them.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself because I had a note to myself specifically to bring one home so I could go see.
Ah,
So in your mind, it's kind of like this color with our logo on it. It's like the reusable shopping bags.
Oh, that's great.
yes. So, Ellen came by to help us out. She stuffed all kinds of information in there. She put in a bunch of different flyers about all the events that are going on. So we're going to do that. And then there's another outreach event. We'll do outreach at town meeting. And then the senior center is actually going to be doing an in-person breakfast. And we can't go because it would put them over their limits. But we're going to have them give out some of those bags with a flyer that's specific for seniors. So, yeah.
Great.
And then the Hope Walk, I know Shannon mentioned the outreach we did at Chestnut Hill Farm, which was unfortunate we didn't reach many Southborough residents, but we had fun, right, Shannon?
We did.
We got to see
Was
some
it a
goats.
good day? Did you guys have a
It
good
was
weather day?
beautiful.
Oh,
yeah,
good. Oh, good.
yeah. But it was kind of a kickoff event of sorts too, because it was the beginning of the month of May for the Hope Walk. And I don't know if you all have seen that, but we have partnered with Chelsea Bradway and her family. So Chelsea was the Southborough resident who had donated her time to doing the Front Steps project at the beginning of the pandemic. And all the money that she made from that project, she got a matching donation from her employer, and in total donated like $7,000 to Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission, which was fantastic. So she and her family had some paintings of wings and wanted to install this art exhibit on the trails at Chestnut Hill Farm. And so we partnered with them and with Chestnut Hill Farm, and we created some mental health awareness placards of sorts to put at each site. So for the entire month of May, this art exhibit is up, and it's an interactive art exhibit. So you can go stand in front of the wings and have your pictures taken. And there's some really nice uplifting information that we've shared to go along with those to try to provide some exercise, some fresh air, some hope for people. And yeah, it's just a nice community collaboration.
I didn't realize that you had a kickoff event. Like I knew.
It was a kickoff event for the Hope Walk is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was an event for that.
I maybe am not characterizing it well. It wasn't our event. It was
that was the cuddle party.
Yeah, it was an event that Chestnut Hill Farm had, and they just invited us to come.
Oh.
So
it so happened that the day that the exhibit went live.
For the Hope Walk, it was just an event that they were having.
Yes, what I mean to say is using it more as a verb, that we were kicking off the start of Mental Health Awareness Month by first doing outreach at Chestnut Hill Farm and kicking off.
I had no idea anything about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't know how you find out about these things, but
Yeah.
like I follow them.
Tomorrow's gonna be beautiful.
The event for Chestnut Hill Farm was a ticketed event, and we had nothing to do with it. They just invited us to have a table.
So the trustees were having an event
Yes.
at,
Yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
still, what I'm saying is I follow them on Facebook. I follow Chestnut Hill and the trustees on
Yeah.
Facebook. And I didn't see anything about it at all.
I
So-
do know they posted something because we worked together to come up with the content. So I do know they posted something. It was a quick turnaround time because the idea was being discussed, but we weren't sure how to make it happen. And so very quickly, DA Hayden, who is, I forget what her title is, but she oversees certain properties and she oversees Chestnut Hill Farm. And we reached out to her and she said, yes, let's do it. And I think we had about 2 weeks turnaround time to make it happen. So I think the end product is really wonderful. But it happened quickly. So that might be part of why it could easily get missed. So
What I'm sort of hearing from Beth is that, and I guess it goes for me too, partly, is I'm sort of finding out about things after. And I'm wondering if there's like some way that Christine could just like email the board and just say, by the way, just like a group thing, so
Yeah.
that we could be more proactive about showing up and swelling your numbers.
sure. Well, like I said, the event that Chestnut Hill Farm did was a ticketed event, and
Yes.
it was for 10 people at a time.
Okay, so that wouldn't apply, but
Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, as Shannon mentioned, it wasn't really, it didn't really meet the needs that we were hoping for, because
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of the people that purchased tickets to attend the trustees event were not Southborough residents. So lesson learned for us, but it was a good exercise for us to gather materials and prepare for outreach, because as we will also talk about later in the meeting, that outreach has been identified as a strategy that we need to do more of,
okay.
and will be outlined in the strategic plan pretty
I mean,
extensively.
technically, Sarah, even if it reaches people from out of town, it's still effectively reaching people, right? I mean,
Yes, except a lot of the things that we had to give people were only available to Southborough residents. So our services, for example, or interface referral services, for example.
Mhm.
So that's, I guess, the part that was unfortunate. But we have a lot of other things lined up,
Okay.
specifically at town meeting. Everybody that's at town meeting is a Southborough resident, so we're excited about that. But certainly I can, partly that is why we do the director's reports, to let you know what's happening. And Beth made the fantastic suggestion of sharing what's upcoming so that you all are aware of what we're doing next month. Using the example of the Hope Walk, I shared that it happened in a 2-week time frame. So sometimes there are things that we didn't even know we were going to be doing, and somebody approached us and said, hey, you want to do this thing with us, and it's free, and it doesn't require much of you, and you guys can just promote it. So if it's helpful, maybe a mid-month update.
If there's an event that that the department is going to be at, it would be nice for the commission to be aware that.
Sure.
Well, and also if you would like us to attend, it might be helpful to have board members there representing the organization. So I would even just send out like, please join us if you want people from the board to be present. I think that,
Well, I think this is a really poor example because, as you guys are very aware, for an entire year, we haven't had any events.
Yeah.
So this was the first time and it's not even our event, and you had to purchase tickets and only 10 people were allowed to be there at once because of capacity. So
we
So
probably
I
couldn't, we
hope
couldn't have
that
been
you-
at a table with you anyway, right?
I'm sorry.
We couldn't have been there with you anyway.
Yeah, I think, I just hope that this is not characteristically how things happen is all I mean to say. So, but I can certainly, in my weekly meeting with Christina, ask that whenever she is advertising for anything, that she plan to send out a separate email that's directly to the board about any of those things. Does that sound comfortable?
yeah, I would love to, if I'm available, I would love to be able to attend. And sometimes it just, I know you know, include things in director's reports, but if you really want one of us or all of us or some of us to be there, just send out a reminder, because I think things fall off our dance card and get buried. So
Okay.
You have a dance card?
I do. I'm dancing all the time.
I think you have a couple dance cards.
The one thing I will just mention to you all, that's very much appreciated. We appreciate your support in coming out. I'll ask Christina to add to her list of places that she advertises anything to make sure that an email is going to the board. And so we'll just have to make sure that depending on the nature of the meeting or whatever it is that's happening, that we don't have a quorum present, or, depending on what it is. Obviously, an event is a different story because you're walking on trails and such. So, so that's just something additional to coordinate. So,
I mean, I didn't mean to make any extra work for you. I just thought maybe the board could just,
absolutely.
we can bring people.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's no extra work. It's something, she's already got a checklist of who needs to get what. So we'll just make sure that that's on there. So, Shannon, anything else about Mental Health Awareness Month that we haven't mentioned?
I don't think so.
Okay. The other, I think, exciting thing to mention is that we've started in-person services again. I do want to say here, as this is a public meeting, that we have criteria right now for who is coming in to see us, as we need to start this process gradually. So to start, we have been prioritizing individuals who have acute symptoms, who have a need for a safety assessment. So anybody, we've had sadly a record number of hospitalizations recently. And so anybody that we've been working with, who we already worked with, or who's coming out of a hospitalization, we can't adequately and safely assess them remotely like this by just seeing their heads.
Yeah.
So we have invited those individuals to come into the office for appointments. The town administrator did send an email on Friday with sort of a plan for reopening all town buildings. And so we are working internally to figure out what that's going to look like for us. Does that mean that we're going to open our services to all residents? Because there also were guidelines of, interactions should be 15 minutes or less. Well, our appointments are generally at least an hour. So it's not, we have some special circumstances. But at any rate, we're excited. It's been really wonderful to have people in the building again. We are sporting an Everybody Loves Raymond look in the office. We got some plastic armchair coverings so that we can easily wipe down furniture and yet still stay comfortable. So I would say that's the other really exciting thing that's happened in the last month. And I think you can expect to hear that we will continue that process of reopening in the coming weeks.
That's great news. That's wonderful.
It is. Does anybody have any questions about
Yes.
anything on the, yeah, go ahead.
So I was wondering if you could talk about the Emergency Fund Partnership Program.
The Emergency Fund Partnership Program. Where are you seeing that?
Well, I don't have the director's report in front of me, but it was on the director's report. Something about.
I'm not sure what you're referencing.
Let me see if I can find it. Hang on.
Yes, Emergency Fund Partnership Program. Christina came up with a name for it. That's why. Shannon, this is the vendor conversation. Yes. So, so we're looking to try where we can. We have some repeat needs that have come up over the years for emergency funds, specifically with transportation or people needing, let's say their refrigerator suddenly dies and they need a new refrigerator. If there's a furniture need, so the housing, hotel needs is another one. And so rather than kind of flying by the seat of our pants in the face of an emergency need, the thought Shannon had was to see if we could create some business accounts with a specific vendor. So if we use hotel accommodations, for example, the Red Roof Inn has been very supportive of residents that we've sent over there. And it would make things a lot easier if we could just call them and say, hey, it's Youth and Family Services. Can you please put this on our account or something like that? I mean, there's some more details that we'd have to work out rather than what we've had to do before, which is takes a lot more time, can sometimes create some discomfort or embarrassment for a resident if we've got to, have uncomfortable conversations and explain things to people. So Shannon and Christina had met about that. Shannon and I had met about that. So Christina has been looking into different businesses that we could start a partnership with to try to alleviate some of those challenges.
Means like set up accounts with them.
Basically, yeah.
And then I was wondering, what is the Youth Commission Board admin checklist?
So that was in response to what I apologized to you all for maybe a month ago when we had posted the agenda and the meeting packets. And I thought Christina was doing it. Christina thought she was. We kind of did one of these. And not everything got to you. And so I created a checklist. I met with Christina about it to ensure that we had everything down that needs to happen in preparation for a board meeting, from seeing who's going to be in attendance to making sure that everybody has the agenda and the meeting packet, making sure we've reserved a virtual room, etc. So there's a lot of pieces. It's kind of like a 10-step process. And so that was something I created and met with her about and cross-referenced her notes with mine. And she mapped out the dates for the remainder of the year in terms of what needs to happen when. Because in addition to each of the steps, there's also a timeline in which those steps need to happen. So just trying to get ourselves better organized. Does anyone else have any questions on the director's report? Okay. Okay, update on South Union Building. So as you probably all remember, there has been conversation about the selling of South Union, which is the building that our offices are in. I did attend a selectman meeting. I was in the audience at a selectman meeting on Monday, where the selectmen talked about that prospect. There was a bid on the building, so an offer was made. And firstly, the conversation seemed to be leaning towards, let's take this to town meeting and let voters weigh in on this decision. And then it was brought forward that the timing is a bit challenging because at the time that this conversation was happening and everything had transpired, that, town meeting is now less than 12 days away. So it's looking like at this point that this is going to still be a conversation for town meeting, but that it's going to be pushed to the special town meeting that's happening in the fall versus the one that's happening this month in May. So
does that mean it will be sold, or that offer has to be held until September?
It's not clear whether that offer will expire or if, I think the town needs to have a conversation with the person who put the offer on the building to find out the conditions and have further conversation. So that part is unclear to me, and to be completely honest, I'm not sure of the implications.
I think we have to vote on whether or not the town wants to sell the building.
Right.
Is it historically preserved, or does it have to stay, or can someone tear it down and build houses there? Do you know?
It's a historical building.
Yeah, I think that they were considering, and please forgive me, I can see Sam Stivers is in the audience. He could put this much more eloquently than I. But my understanding was that they were considering putting an RFP out there. What an RFP stands for, I'm not 100%.
It's a request for proposal that somebody will buy it or fix it.
But with conditions in place, and then potentially one without. So I think they moved forward with the conditions in place. I'm getting a text message. I wonder.
Clarify it for you.
No, it was not a clarification. So I think that's where things stand right now, is that there are historical requirements in place for the building. And I think they were considering whether or not they would put out an RFP without those requirements and what might happen as a result of having that lifted. So if at town meeting it was voted to sell the building, I don't think anyone can perfectly predict what would happen next, but we are already having conversations in the sense, nothing definitive. I know nothing, but having conversations about what our needs are And we've all sort of talked about that. And if you guys can recall, back in August of 2020, I shared an email sort of outlining what the needs of the department are in terms of space. And nothing has really changed from what was originally shared with the capital planning committee in terms of what our needs are. So, so I reiterated that to them. And so, you know, the long term, so in the short term, we may end up being in sort of a transitional space, depending on how the conversation at town meeting goes. In the long term, I know that there's plans to potentially either build a new school or condense schools, potentially build a community center. You know, so there's a lot of longer range conversations happening, and those will have implications for South Union as well as our department too. So, so it's a little unsettling not to know, but I would say that, you know, as residents of the town and as board members, that I think you may be having some questions about what the implications are for the department, or, you know, where we might go. And I don't have the answers to that, but those are perfectly legitimate things to raise in the context of a town meeting discussion.
So we really you really need a bigger space, right? Your space is too small right now. I
We would love to have another office and a dedicated conference room for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, our space that we're in, we're very happy with, and it's leaps and bounds above what we had previously. So, so we're very happy where we are. It's very comfortable. We did have a surprise visit from a squirrel on Monday. But he was a sweet squirrel, and you know, so beyond that and beyond, you know, we do have to share office spaces for appointments with people, but you know, we make it work. So the ideal scenario would be to have 4 offices and a dedicated conference room, and still have a reception area with a waiting room.
So right now there are how many offices?
We have 3.
You have 3 and you really need 4. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Our reception room can be a 4th space because it does have a door on it. But by closing that door, it means that we no longer have our waiting room, our reception area. The rest of us don't have access to office supplies or the printer. So, you know, the reception area.
So Sarah, could you see in 10 years needing even more space than that? I mean, what ideally, if you could look 10 years out, how many offices would you need?
I really don't think we would need, I mean, that's difficult to predict, but if you're asking me right now, I don't think we would need more than that. Yeah.
Are you guys just using your office to see clients right now, or is Megan's office big enough to do that?
No,
it's not.
No. So we're only using my room right now for meeting with clients.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So fortunately, we have other workspaces in the reception room. So I move over there when Megan has an appointment, or it's really just Megan because our intern Lisa is finishing up this week. So, but you know, we'll see what happens in the fall or over the summer. We do have another intern coming on board in the fall. So, you know, I might need to continue to work in the reception room versus my room if we need to have that larger space for appointments with people.
But you'll have some notice, even if you have to move temporarily.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All of that takes a long time. There's a lot of planning and negotiating, and frankly, way over my head in terms of understanding what needs to happen, but I feel very confident that it's not going to be, hey, you're moving next week, because they do have to find a place for us to go, and it does need to meet the needs of residents. So
Where would recreation be going?
they don't know that either.
Okay.
Yeah. So lots of things to figure out. But are there any other thoughts, discussions, or questions on South Union? I can certainly let you know if I hear more information. Donation account expenditure approval. I don't have anything. That's a standing item on our agenda. Leslie Haddon was going to give a friend's report. She's not here. And Sue, were you planning?
Yes,
to-
I can do that. So as far as camperships go, we, as the Friends group, voted that we would do an extra week of camp, up to 3 weeks. And there were 27 campers. I don't know if that number's gone up.
I don't think so.
Nope, it hasn't.
I don't think so.
Okay. And we also talked about community outreach. Chelsea Melanowski came on to that meeting, and we spoke about a need in the community to reach out to newcomers when folks move into town, new moms or families that may be going through a crisis. For example, a fire, or residents who feel disconnected. In what she had to say, that there's a whole group of people with kids in the kindergarten through 5 age group who are wanting to do more in our community. And she would be willing to recruit some of those people once we could come up with some ideas. I have a call in to Jim Haggerty about whether or not we do anything when a resident moves into town. Do we do welcome baskets? Because Friends would be maybe interested in doing something like that.
There used to be a newcomers club, is there? not?
Yeah, I don't think that exists anymore.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, there's Kinder Group, which provides a network for young families, which is nice. But yeah, I think that it's an untapped resource for both Friends and for fundraising, and also providing services and support. So,
And she's a young mom herself, and a selectman. So that is a need. So we'll see what Jim comes back with as far as that goes. And what else is on here that you want to know about? Oh, the Facebook page. Kathy Cook and a coworker added the donate button to the Facebook page. So we now have Facebook Pay. And we're meeting again next week to go through some other things. We also talked about an annual giving donation and versus the holiday giving program. I don't know how you all feel about that. Sarah, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this is a very, 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 very preliminary conversation. But as you all, I hope this is on here. Yeah. As you all saw in our draft goals, that one of our primary goals is to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we're taking a look at all of our services, programs, language, advertising, and wanting to ensure that everything we do is inclusive. And so it's long been a thought of mine and a conversation Shannon and I have had recently that the holiday giving program could stand to be a little bit more inclusive, in the sense that even though it says holiday, really it's geared towards collecting presents to give to children. And it's not said explicitly, but we try to get them to families in time for Christmas. And so we would really like to consider the possibility, and actually Shannon and I had another conversation about this today. Our hope was to propose something more formally to the board, and to Friends, because Friends is involved with some of the funding of that program, but probably in the middle of the summer or early summer, to have that conversation. But for families who maybe don't celebrate Christmas, for families who maybe are in need of help, but maybe have college age students, kids living at home. The other thing that's become really apparent to us is that that's an incredibly generous time of year. We are always in awe of how generous the community is. And sometimes we end up having far too much for families than we could possibly use for holiday giving, to make it equitable for everybody. So we were considering the idea about possibly doing an annual giving program where people are still feeling generous that time of year and making either donations of gifts for families who could still participate in the holiday giving program, but for donors who want to just make a monetary donation, that it could feed a number of different things, specifically the Camp Scholarship Program, which we always, we basically provide 2 weeks of camp scholarship for every child. There's always room for more, and we fall short of being able to do more because of how expensive it is to send children to camp. So it could be the kind of thing that it's an annual fundraiser, that could be donations of gifts, or it could be donations of money, and it could go towards a variety of things. So that was a very preliminary conversation that was brought up as a way of ensuring that we are really, truly being inclusive to all residents.
Because right now, Sarah, and if someone donates to the holiday giving program as it stands, it has to go to that, right? You can't take that out of that bucket,
right,
and use it in another way.
Right. If that's what somebody intended their donation to be for, and that's what what was advertised to them as where their money would be going, then it has to be used for that.
You guys have any thoughts on that? Does the board have any, or does the commission have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm in support of expanding the program to increase inclusivity and diversity. I think pigeonholing us into a holiday with the word holiday is limiting, and I think I really embrace the idea of creating an annual giving program in which the funds could be used in a variety of different ways. We could make it possible if people wanted to give specifically to one program or another. You have a list, and I'd prefer camperships or community outreach or senior support or whatever they could earmark. But I think an annual program is probably more inclusive. So I like that idea a lot.
Ditto.
It might be a little outdated to call it a holiday giving program, like we're moving in different directions in society these days and trying to recognize that there's many holidays.
Mhm.
And so, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds.
So we'll talk about it more. I'm sure we'll talk about it more next week. And one other thing, and then I can stop, but there was some talk about maybe changing Friend's name a little, and not calling it. We really cannot change the youth commission, right? Is that that's the more difficult thing to do? Or
What would you change?
You, well, I guess in an ideal world, the name of the department would be changed.
Right.
Which is not completely insurmountable, but it's not just a easy task. So it is confusing because we've got Youth and Family Services, and then the board, even though it's, we're an extension of each other, the board is called the Youth Commission Board, which is the name our department used to have. We used to be called the Youth Commission. And then there's Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission. So really, you're the outlier. It's our department that's not consistent with the other two. But so if we all wanted to be on the same page, it would be Southborough Youth and Family Services, the Southborough Youth and Family Services Board, and the Friends of Southborough Youth and Family Services. Sue, forgive me, I don't remember that part of the conversation about.
Well, we actually didn't come to any conclusions. It was just something that I thought I should tell you guys about and see if you had any thoughts. We're going to discuss that again at our meeting. So,
I mean, can you change it?
Because we also deal with seniors, right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
youth commission's kind of
I
not,
think that we need to make that change. I think it's very confusing, especially, people accessing the services through on the town website. It says Youth
Mhm.
Commission. People
Right.
might think that is for young people and not
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
a family problem or
Yeah.
an emergency problem.
Right, even the name Youth and Family Services, it's a little more inclusive, but it's still, what if you're a single
senior,
adult,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
What would be a better name, Sarah, do you think? If you could just rename us, what would you rename us?
I have thought long and hard about that question. I think for me, I would say like Southborough Human Services or
Oh, that's a
something
good one.
like.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that we're not the only department that provides human services. So, it's.
Human resources, maybe.
And community outreach, human services,
Yeah.
community
And
outreach, yeah.
social services, but
Yeah.
Or
that has.
just support services, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of pros and cons to a lot of different options, but so.
We
But
could all
it's
think
been a
about that.
conversation had many
I
times.
think we should have this conversation at some point in time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I think we have a lot going on. Well, you guys have a lot going on,
Mhm.
but I think it would be, since we've done the needs assessment and we better, you're kind of trying to define what the organization's mission is and what their goals and objectives are to meet the community needs. I think with that, I think we need to have a name that best reflects what the organization is trying to do and accomplish.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think right now it's really confusing because there's two names. I mean,
Mhm.
I get stuff for the Youth Commission and Youth and Family Services, and I can't imagine somebody from the outside, community coming in and like, is this the
What is
same
it?
thing? It's very confusing. So I think that we should consider putting it on the agenda, maybe for the summer, maybe when I don't know, just do they
I'm
get more
just looking
quiet?
for clarification, whose name are you looking to change?
I would say our organization first, and then.
You mean the
if-
department?
Yeah, the
or-
department. Mhm.
Okay, because it's quite a big undertaking, I guess.
You actually have to
Um,
go, if you have to go to the state to change the name of the department.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I think somebody might need to do their, I wouldn't even know where to start, maybe with the clerk's office and ask what it would take to change the name of a department and.
Well, if you would like some help, I'm sure.
Also, I can ask Jim, because Jim and I are gonna talk, so I can ask him what his thoughts are on that.
Yeah,
The other thing we might do is look around at other towns in Massachusetts and see what they are calling their departments that do what this department is doing.
they're all called Youth and Family Services.
Okay, let's be the trend. Let's be the trendsetters here. What do they always call their Youth and Family Services Board? The Youth Commission?
I don't know.
That's the thing that confuses people, I think. It's
Yeah.
like,
I have many relationships with other directors of youth and family service departments in other towns, but we're all called, if we are truly a town department, we're called Youth and Family Services. There are some that are actually, towns that don't have a municipal department who have a presence at some of these meetings, but they're a nonprofit organization. But all of the ones that are, actually Northborough is called Northborough Family and Youth Services.
Mhm.
Just to make it more
Mixing it up a little.
Yeah.
well, it sounds like
Clarifies it all.
it sounds like changing the Youth and Family Services would be a big job, but maybe changing the Youth Commission name wouldn't be such a big job. I don't know.
Right.
I think it's worth looking into.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree. Wouldn't it be funny if like this whole time they're like, no, just fill out this form? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it, but
I will look into that a little bit more
that
too,
would be great.
Yeah,
be
that would
great.
be
I'm
helpful,
really
Sue.
curious.
And
especially if I'm on the phone with him anyway, so.
Yeah.
if there is anything I can do to support the effort, I'd be happy to help out, because I think the name of the municipal organization should reflect what they provide.
And
the
also,
community.
even just making a donation, if Paul and I have had friends who would want to make a donation, it needs to be made out to friends of. So that confuses, I tell someone that and they're like, well, what do you mean? I don't understand why I can't just make it out to youth and family.
Yeah, they can,
Yeah,
but it doesn't get used in the same way.
right. So that's confusing too.
Mhm.
Now that I've confused you all, I'm done with that.
No, so I
I'm
just
gonna-
had
go ahead.
one quick question. In Northborough, where it's still going to be Family and Youth Services or wherever it is, what do they call the town board that's appointed? That
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
are they all
Um,
youth commissions?
Isn't it a
Anyway,
nonprofit?
I think, oh, go ahead, Beth, sorry.
Isn't it a nonprofit in Northborough? It's not a town department?
No.
well,
it's a
say
town
in
department.
Westborough or someplace that has a comparable town department.
Yeah.
What do they call the appointed board that that supports them, or what would they call us if we were Northborough?
Let me see if I can find it really quick. So I'm on there. It's the Youth Commission.
It is, wow,
Okay, all right,
It was quick.
not alone. Okay,
it was very quick.
Yes, I typed very quickly.
thank you.
Yeah. The next item on the agenda is the Laurie Sugarman Whittier Wellness Award nominees. It feels like not too long ago that we had this discussion, and that's true because in 2020, we didn't have our heads on straight whatsoever. So it wasn't until the end of 2020 that Barbara Jandrew was recognized as the recipient for 2020. So to get ourselves back on track with Mental Health Awareness Month, we put the information out, and it was such a great response. It was really cool. So I have not actually read through, because this is the board's decision. I haven't read through all of them myself. Leslie is not here this evening, but she did send me her thoughts in the event that, so she's not officially going to be included in the vote, but I am happy to share what her thoughts were. But so I guess I can open it up to discussion.
I don't know if you saw this, Sarah. Are we supposed to even mention names on this? How are we gonna do?
I was wondering, they're not numbered, so I was like, how are we going to like do
Talk about
this?
these people without saying their names.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, we can discuss who the nominees are. We redacted all of the contact information to protect people's privacy, but so does anybody want to start with what their thoughts are?
well, I already know who I want to vote for, so.
Maybe somebody should
Maybe we
review.
should start by saying Mary Ellen Duggan was nominated again.
Yeah.
And we'll just say in the context of this meeting that Mary Ellen Duggan is the recipient of the 2019 Laurie Sugarman Whittier Wellness Award. So I don't want to speak for the board, but my assumption is that you would like to consider the other nominations first.
Yes.
I think we need to do that.
So I think for me, I was considering, someone who had made a major contribution to help facilitate, our goals. And that's what I was looking at when I was reading through the nominees. And for me, one person was outstanding. So that's how I came to the decision.
You're leaving us all in suspense, Beth.
Well, I don't know what.
Well, they're
I
all
just
wonderful
think
for starters. right?
Chelsea,
Yeah.
like,
That's
she, initiated a program that was really fun during COVID, and like a lot of people really participated in that, and then to like donate the money that she, that she made through that was like just, very selfless and just really charitable and like huge, it was for me.
Yeah, Chelsea's been very involved in community outreach, bringing the community together, instilling hope during challenging times. I'm really very fond of all her efforts and
Yeah.
her continued support in trying to bring joy and happiness to.
we can only pick one, right?
Yes, I know, it's hard.
Unless you want to spontaneously come up with another award.
I'm fine with that person also, but I hope everybody else gets a letter.
Yeah, let me maybe mention what before we choose what we've done in the past. So we've never had so many nominations, which is really exciting.
Is terrific. Yeah.
In years past, we have sent letters to not only the recipient, but also to the nominees. And we have publicly recognized everybody who has been nominated. So the first year we did this at Celebrate Wellness, we had boutonnieres and corsages for all of the nominees who came to the event. We made mention of them. That was our first year doing it. So I would expect that if COVID didn't happen over time, we would have probably fleshed that out even more in terms of, coming up with a plan. And then for Barbara, we wrote something up to post on My Southborough. We sent letters to her and to the other two nominees. And then we also, actually for both years, the recipient received a gift from Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission. So we're going to need to chat with them about whether they would like to do that again. But the nominees last year also received a gift. So flowers were, you guys probably remember Leslie Chamberlain shared a picture of the flowers that she shared with her mom. So something like that can be done too. And in fact, we're hoping Shannon and I and Megan to bring whoever the recipient is onto Coffee Talk. To
Oh,
show
that's a great
their-
idea.
Yeah, to
That'd be
showcase
great
their
idea.
contributions. We could even have each of the nominees on and
Mhm.
talk to each of them.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think I know who I want to pick. I don't know how you want to do this.
Well, do you just, I'll share before you guys continue what Leslie said to me. Sorry, I just have to find her email. It'll be faster if I typed this in. Leslie. Okay, so Leslie said, her top choice was Liz Caprillion. Liz was the member of Rotary Club who really spearheaded the Cash for Camperships program.
She was fantastic
Yeah,
towards this department and,
Yep.
and wanting to get Rotary
Yep.
to help out.
yeah. And continues to be very supportive. She also, I know the director of the library, Ryan Donovan, was the person who nominated her. So I think that he shared some additional information with you all about other contributions she's made. Carrie Aspesi is her second choice and Delaney Cosentino is her third. She did not give me, I don't know the other two women, but Leslie didn't give me any other feedback, except to say, I am certain that the board will choose someone that is well deserving.
They're all fantastic.
So do you want me to do something similar to the way we managed the scholarship program where I'll list people's names and then you can
Sure.
vote?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to pull that up really quick.
I wish I could vote for all of them.
I know.
I know.
It's really hard.
Right, Shannon, can I ask your assistance because I can't see anybody?
Okay.
So if I read the names, I'm gonna, actually, I wonder if I actually think I can do both at the same time. Scratch that, unless you really want a job. So the first nominee is Cami Aspesi.
We vote more than once.
You
This is
cannot.
what happened last time with me, right? So
Can I do mail-in voting?
Yeah, really. She was wonderful. They're all wonderful.
Really, she was like a guardian angel in town. She actually got me my vaccination appointment, and we were a group of very frustrated teachers. So she was remarkable. I don't know. This is too hard for me.
very hard.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So
Okay.
I said Cami Aspesi, Delaney Cosentino,
Also fabulous, but I'm holding my vote off.
Liz Caprillion,
Fantastic, but no, I'm waiting.
Mary Ellen Duggan,
Also fabulous.
Kelly Kiley. Also fabulous.
Yes, they all are. This is.
It's hard not to.
Can we
vote
just
for
give it to all of them? I know.
Chelsea Bradway.
Okay, I'm gonna vote for Chelsea.
I am too.
I think I am as well,
Okay, well, that was easy.
but I want them all to know how fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
so-
Jennifer Lipton O'Connor was fantastic.
Jennifer
Can we
Lipton
tap
O'Connor is-
into the Friends account and make some kind of gesture for these other runner-ups? I think
Yeah.
that they all need to be recognized, and whether we give them some
Absolutely.
flowers or a box of chocolate or a gift card to some place, but it's just truly a remarkable group of people
Mhm,
this
mhm.
year, and it's just very
We also should mention Jennifer Lipton O'Connor too.
Yes, yep. Yeah.
Again, another.
I happen to work collaboratively with her. She's lovely and works incredibly hard for the students she supports. So yeah, they're all great.
A fantastic group of people.
Yep.
So it sounds, so I think we have our vote for who the recipient is.
And I will talk to friends next week. And if any of you want to hop on that meeting, and you want to be a friend.
Without a quorum though.
Oh, yes, yeah, not, that's true, sorry. Never mind, you can't come.
Maybe we
Um,
could write a note or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will talk to them about, what they want to do as far as a
Mhm.
gift and how we're going to also acknowledge all these other fantastic folks.
Yeah, now, does anybody have thoughts on beyond, the thoughts we had about having the recipient on Coffee Talk? And so we will write letters to everyone who is nominated, and we'll include some information about what the nomination form said about them and their contributions, and thank them. We will hold off on, I was gonna say, we can hold off on sending those and have that go in tandem with, let's say they're getting flowers or something, that could go together, or we could send the letter and then later
Do they ever acknowledge community members' contributions to the community at town meeting or anything? I don't know if they would mention them.
Actually,
They mention retirements. I know from,
It would be
I
nice.
think, and
to-
residents that we've lost, they do that.
Yeah. I know the library gives an award every year, but I think we were told this year we couldn't do it because they don't want the town meeting to be too long because
Yeah,
everybody.
they're trying to make it as short as possible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make it really short.
I like the letter thing. I like acknowledging all of them. The coffee talk thing.
Coffee Talk. Do you think they'd all want to be on Coffee Talk? They should. They
I
certainly.
think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
we're looking for booking in June, right, Shannon? So, I mean, the only thing about that is that if we do it for everybody, does it make the recipient, we aren't able to publicly recognize people this year in the context of an event. So this is sort of our way of doing that. And, if we do that for everybody, I feel as though we want to make sure we do something above and beyond for Chelsea. And maybe that means a live event like Oprah. No, instead of just Coffee Talk, we're going to Oprah.
But they'll all get letters, you said, right? So
Yep.
that's terrific.
So it's up to the friends, but I would assume you'd stay in the same price range as we have for the last two for a gift for the.
Yeah, I would think so. The challenge is that we've got more
Right,
nominees
so-
this year, but
Right, so we couldn't, again, it's up to the friends, but I wouldn't expect that they could give big bouquets like you to the runner-ups like you did last year. I think there were only two
Mhm.
runners-ups last year. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was something small for them, and then but for Chelsea
Mhm. Yeah.
in the same price range as we've done in the past.
After that meeting next week, I will reach out to all of you too, to tell you what they decided and, or what we decided and then you can give me your thoughts too. But you're right, we can't, there's so many, which is fantastic, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and if, often it takes 3 years for something to get off the ground, like, so this is the 3rd year and it's off the ground, so who knows,
Mhm.
next year, 20 people.
Yeah. Christina took a different approach when advertising it also. She said she made, completely unintentionally, she made a flyer that looked a lot like, you guys are probably familiar with Captain America's shield.
Yeah.
It had a lot of the same colors, and she wrote, "Nominate a community hero" across the top.
Yeah.
And I said, "Did you mean to make that look like Captain America's shield?" And she was like, "No, not at all." And so she changed the coloring and everything. But I think people were really drawn to that idea of a community hero versus a wellness award. I think it was good marketing in the sense that, like, what are we really looking for? And there's so many people that have stood out during what we, this hardship that we've been through as being helpful. So I think for that reason too, there were a lot of really great.
Where did that fly? Where was that flyer put? I mean, that would be another thing that I would like
Everywhere.
It was at the post office, I think. I saw it at the post office.
Yeah, that went out through all the schools, through my Southborough, through okay, look in the middle drawer, the bottom one. Sorry. We need to turn lights on in their bed tents.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, we have a whole list of things that we typically do, and that went out that way. I know it went on Southborough Share and Care. So there were a few different places.
So could something like that get emailed to us also? Because
Yeah, and that goes back to the point previously.
I didn't go to the post office, so it would be nice just to see that.
I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. We can make sure that anytime something's being advertised anywhere, that the board is on that list so that you all get it and share that information.
And so if we wanted to send friends an email, what is the email address? Does anybody know?
Well, typically it's Kathy, Sue, and Leslie's personal email address. That's
okay.
But the Friends of email address is still being utilized. So that is
and who checks that? Must be
that is Lauren, I believe. Lauren is in charge of if it's okay, can I send that in an email? Because it's a long email address.
Yeah,
and
it is. I just don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I might have it written down somewhere.
Yeah, so I'll let you know right after we talk too, just so that you guys know what. But it is fantastic news that there were this many nominees.
Agreed.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move us along. The community needs assessment report and the strategic planning draft goals are the next 2 items on the agenda. So the needs assessment report is quite extensive. I think it's a total of like 45 pages. We are working with Anne, who is our strategic planning consultant, for one more week, which means that if there's feedback, and actually we talked about this at the staff meeting today, if there's feedback about readability, or if anybody finds something confusing, now is a great time to give that feedback so that we can try to adjust that. Though, all that being said, it's a long report and there's still a lot of work to be done in 1 week's time. So,
Are
we
you
have to
asking
balance.
for editors, people to read it and?
Well, that's partly what we're doing is looking for feedback. This is what Anne does for a living, is writing community needs assessment reports and strategic planning. I sort of am deferring to her as she's the hired consultant on the process. But you know, I am sharing this with you all for your feedback. And the same will happen with the report once the strategic plan, once that's finished as well.
So I found the draft of the goals fascinating. I actually have quite a lot.
You're talking about the goals, the 4-column, the 4 text boxes rather.
Yes, but I mean, I have a lot. We don't have to go into it. I just made a lot of notes.
Yeah.
But I find one typo on the survey, and that is that I mean, there might have been others, but this one was blaring. Steve Archillis is not superintendent of the school.
Yes, that has been changed. Thank you for
Okay.
catching that. Yeah. Somebody else had noticed that. Sorry about that, Steve, if you're watching in your free time. Did anybody else have, I mean, the other thing that I'm wondering is if anybody was struck by anything in particular. You know, we had the committee, which included Shannon and I, had looked at this data so many times that it was hard for us to look at it with fresh eyes and see something that, you know, stood out. And so there is like an executive summary sheet that sort of, you know, we're trying to highlight the things that are most important. So, you know, if anybody is seeing something that they think is really noteworthy, or again, if you find something confusing.
I really wasn't surprised by the survey results.
Mm-hmm.
I really kind of thought it was spot on, actually. So, yeah.
So kind of provided confirmation of what you already thought.
Yes.
Anybody else have thoughts to share? It's okay if you don't. Just want to take the opportunity while we have it. How about oh, go ahead.
When are you looking to have a move beyond draft to a final copy of the needs assessment report?
Well, what you have, what we've provided with all of the graphs and data, barring any major changes, is likely to be the end product.
Okay.
Again, we're kind of in the home stretch here, and so we're focusing what time we have left on finalizing the strategic plan. So the needs assessment was the first thing we worked on, and the strategic plan is the second thing. So the strategic plan for the most part is finished, and what you have in front of you is the final report, barring any major changes. So, but Anne did ask that I bring it to you all and get your thoughts. So before we kind of give it its final stamp of approval.
So the mission statement has changed.
Yes, so that is a conversation we had with her. We also outlined our core values and our vision for the department in the process. And so we were trying to create a mission statement that was timeless. So no matter what changes happened in terms of what programs or services we were offering, that mission statement would still be accurate. And as it had been previously, it really was almost too specific. I can't even remember what it was before, but we tried to really simplify it so that it was clear as to what we do.
I would like to know what the board thinks too about strengthening, what you all thought about that, about strengthening the commission overall too.
Well, I liked that part of it because it seems like it's being suggested that we should be more involved. And I think we've all been wanting to be more involved, but didn't know exactly how to be so.
Right. Yeah.
We talked about training. I think when all of us were appointed or when we joined,
Yes.
there wasn't any training.
No.
No training, so.
And we've often questioned what are our responsibilities and to what extent do those responsibilities carry. So I agree with you, Sue.
Right.
Yeah, I think having formal, in regards to that particular item, having some kind of formal input from the board regarding, I think we do spend a lot of time reviewing all the work that you've done, but being able to tap into our individual experiences and expertise and help guide how the department evolves or particular goals and objectives that you need help finding and providing insight on. I think that it would be nice to have a more formal way of providing support to because we do a lot of reviewing, and I think we have a lot of really good ideas as board members and personal experiences and community experiences and professional experiences that would help you continue on in evolving as an organization and meeting the needs of the community. So however we can help out there. So we've come a long way though.
And I would say, this is a conversation that Sue and I had, that none of us have really known any different. We've kind of just kept on doing what we've been doing. And one of the positives that I think has come out of COVID and having to do our board meetings online is that, we've been able, or others have been able to see differences, major, not just with the Youth Commission board, but across every board, that there's a lot of differences in how boards and committees operate. And so providing some guidance is needed. And I totally agree, that we as a department would also like to utilize the board in a way that we are coming to you and seeking your guidance on things. I think one of the really fabulous benefits of creating a strategic plan is that it creates a roadmap. So often we're coming to you to tell you what we did last month because we're flying by the seat of our pants. And what we did last month was not at all what we expected to do last month. It just kind of happened, and that will still happen. It's just the nature of the work that we do. But we can together make some decisions about bigger, policies and plans for the department. So that's exactly why, we wanted to have that in the plan so that it feels like it's not just a runaway train where the department is moving forward in a particular direction, but that the Youth Commission Board is wholly involved in that process along with us as part of the department.
So when I look at this board, I see, first of all, it's a very mellow and friendly board, which is fabulous. And there's a lot of really positive feeling. And if I look at what we did today during the meeting, you spent a fair amount of time explaining or catching us up on what you knew about programs and things. You were, in other words, like the director's report was telling us you've done this and this and this. So you were kind of teaching us for the first half of the meeting what you've been up to and what you've been doing. And that was fine. And then we voted on the Laurie Sugarman Whittier, which was fabulous. And then we talked about the needs assessment report. And I think what I heard, especially from Beth, was she wished that she knew, and I felt the same way, wished that there'd been more kind of language ahead on some of the programs and stuff, so that we could have known more in advance, which is just like that's an oversight. Please let us know and we'll be glad to contribute. I'm not seeing that we have a lot of financial oversight in the way that you're spending things, and I only can compare it to the library board. Sorry to keep mentioning that, but a lot of
it's good to have a comparison.
The library board is we do a lot more fiscal oversight. So much money has to be spent on this or that or the other thing, and if it's over $5,000, we have to vote on it. And then the other part is that our building was getting renovated in the front, so we had to have a trustee who was sort of overseeing that, and then we have another trustee or thing. So that's kind of like delegated to different people. But a lot of what other boards do is like fiscal oversight. It's like you're spending X amount of money on this, and you did talk about the camperships, and that's why this board is so fabulous here. It's because the youth, the Friends of, and the Youth Commission and the Department of Children and Families all work together harmoniously with the same goals. There's not a lot of tension. So it's not really like, well, can you really spend $5,000 on this? No, because we know you're taking care of it. But I think I would like, if there's anything else I can do to make your life less frantic, stressed, and generally like, cutting into your sleep at night, I would be more than happy if you felt like you could delegate certain things, like doing research about, like, maybe somebody wants to do research on changing our name. Maybe it would be kind of like, can you do that and come back to the next?
Yeah. And actually, Sue and I had a conversation with Chelsea Malinowski about this. Chelsea is a selectman and is the liaison to our department. And so we've had some conversation about ways that the dynamic between the department and the board could change. And she said, for example, Mark Purple comes to a Board of Selectmen meeting with a long list of action items and says, all right, guys, I need your help with this.
Yeah.
And, the selectmen say, I'll take that one, or I'll take this one. And, so that's not something I have, again, but we've kind of inherited the way things have been done and just kept on doing it. And so I am very open to that and to change. And I think it's a great opportunity for growth. And so, your suggestion, Marguerite, is in line with that, if there's things that we can give to board members to take on, for example, someone looking into what it would take to potentially change the name of the department, for example.
Or what would it be like if people investigated the fact that you may have to move buildings in 2 years? I mean, you've got some really smart people on this board. Maybe somebody should check that out and report back to us. Is that, rather than you being, feeling, oh gosh, here's one more thing I have to deal with.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, this is a really lovely, fabulous, wonderful board, and I love all the meetings and everybody feels happy. I hate to, but maybe there's stuff you could delegate.
You want to infuse some anger into the meeting? Marguerite?
Yes, a little more
She wants to make
hostility.
it really dour.
Yeah, we need
Uh,
something
I think Sarah said to me, within the last couple of months, I need you to channel your meanness. Like,
Well, because Sue was part of the strategic planning committee, and I said, Sue, I would love for you to participate, but I need you to think critically about us and give us critical feedback because
you can't sit in a meeting and just say, "Oh, they're so great."
I know. Well, the
Yeah.
Friends report is that. The Friends report is a fiscal report. That is definitely reporting.
well, the Friends report is a report on their spending.
Their money, right?
Yeah.
I do include in the director's report the balances, but if you would like some additional information on what the money was spent on, I'm happy to do that. I mean, the thing is, Marguerite, I kind of chuckled when you were talking about the library and the $5,000 transaction. Like our budget, we're I actually had major anxiety and stress over spending money on the outreach bags, for example, because I was like, oh, this is way more money than we're used to spending. But it's the kind of thing that, it has no date on it whatsoever. We already have identified through this process that outreach is something we have to do more of. So even if we're not going to use it in the short term, it's something we're going to be using long term moving forward. But I'd be very happy to, can I maybe just make a suggestion? So this is where it becomes challenging. If we only see one another once a month, it's very hard for us to do everything we need to do.
I know, we don't want to make more work for you
Mhm.
either. Like that's
Right.
So I don't know if the board would be amenable to meeting more often. But I think that if we were going to run things by the board and have them weigh in and vote on how things operate, I think for us, we would really need to have board meetings more often in order, because for some things, it's going to be really hard for us to wait an entire month before we can make a decision on something.
I don't want to get into micromanaging the organization from a daily operation. I don't think that's our job as a board. It's to help build that roadmap and help you have the tools to meet the goals and having foresight and like I think the whole strategic planning project is fantastic, and that this is what we should be doing as board members, is helping you have that vision. What's our mission, what's our goals, but the day-to-day operations, I think, is really, you guys are smart people, the business better, and we don't need to be involved in that level. I really would prefer to help you, like, should we offer, like regarding the speaker, thing that we had, that's like, should we be doing this? And I think it was really helpful to get our input at that level, like, given the pandemic, or, we are, the board has evolved so much since the day I started. We were basically glorified party planners, and I was like, well, okay, but I really, we've come so far, and the organization's come so far, and I give you a lot of credit, Sarah, and your staff, and I'm really happy with the direction. I think that we have to take incremental steps in trying to figure out how we define what the role of the board is, what your mission is, what your roadmap is. But I like the direction we're going in. Let's take it a little bit at a time. Let's not try to jump way ahead of ourselves and try to figure out, some grandiose idea of what we should be. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of, of trying to guide your ship and give you
Mhm.
input. But if
Mhm.
there's expertise that you would like to tap into that we might be able to,
Mhm.
like research, if you wanted a government grant or something. I mean, not that I want to write a grant proposal, but if there was funds or something you needed, we can help you there, but I really see us as people that have their finger on the pulse in the community, and we can give you real, and that's why I'm glad you included people from the board on the strategic planning committee. I think that's really important. So yeah, no, I think you've really evolved a lot over the past 4 years, and you should be really proud of your achievements. So I commend you on that.
All of us.
Yay.
Yeah,
It's my
and
little speech. I nominate you as
I
the
nominate you,
community hero.
Laura Sugarman Whittier. So the other part of it is that you've already done that huge part about laying out how you want to increase your staffing or move staffing around for the next like 5 years. That's pretty fabulous. That's really, really, really good.
Yes, we are where we are currently, given that the last year has kind of not paralyzed things, but kind of put us into a bit of a time warp. I am along with Shannon, and this was part of our conversation with strategic planning also, is that we'd like to further integrate Christina into the mix to determine what other needs we have. So a lot of what Shannon had been doing, coordination of like the holiday giving program and the camp scholarship program, a lot of that was administrative in nature, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of applications, a lot of deadlines. And so Shannon's been cross-training Christina this past year, or not this past year, since October, on these programs, with the hope that she can take those over, so that we can move Shannon into a more of a prevention role. It would be amazing if we could have somebody dedicated to helping the Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition stay alive. Shannon's also working on some suicide prevention initiatives. So we don't have somebody in-house dedicated to prevention work, which is our biggest bang for the buck. And I'm sure I've said that before. But we're not in a place yet to know how all of that will look when we give what we can to Christina and sort of reallocate responsibilities. I'm just really trying to streamline things so that Shannon isn't straddling need-based services and prevention work at the same time, because it really dilutes the effort when it's not streamlined that way. So I don't know where I was going with that. I apologize, or why that even came up.
It was interesting.
Oh, good. I'm here for your entertainment, Sarah.
That's really successful because you're realigning things in the department to have a as the needs of the community change, you are changing too, and I think it's really forward looking, and I think that was a lot of really, really good planning for where you want it to be. So that's like amazingly good.
Great. In looking at the goals, and even specifically the part about the Youth Commission board, is there anything missing? Any strategies that you think we need to add that you would like to see? Or even in any of the other goals?
Well, I was just really thrilled to see that the Youth Commission was addressed in the goals, and that that it seems like the goals want to like bump us up, kind of. So I really just was really happy to see that. So I don't think there was, for me, there wasn't anything missing.
Mhm.
I was glad that there was so much of it
Mm.
that it really made us more, it seemed to make us more important than maybe we don't realize
Mhm.
at this point in time. It was kind of
Mhm.
like highlighting,
Mhm.
you know.
So Beth, the bullet points are, within a goal, a strategy we're going to employ. And then below that, it's supposed to be as specific as we can be about how we plan to achieve that goal. So if you're thinking about strengthening the Youth Commission board, is there anything we need to make sure we include to achieve that?
Hmm.
I mean, that's a question for any of you that's not already listed there.
I don't know. I think I'd have to like reread it and reading it.
I
reading
think
it-
of just a specific, oh, sorry, Beth, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go
I
ahead.
just think of the specific thing of the possibility of having to change spaces. It's a kind of long-term thing, but it seems
Mhm.
like the board should be thinking about that too. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not just up to you because you're in the offices, but there will be a time when it would be nice if you could have 4 offices, and I think the board should be like aware of that. That's a huge thing. It's in the future, but I think we can all be like thinking about that.
Mhm. Marguerite, I'm just trying to scroll to that page. Where is it?
Can you screen share it?
So many pages.
Yeah, maybe that would be helpful if you could,
Yeah, let me pull it up.
because I wasn't reading it from that standpoint. I was just reading it as the information you were giving us. So I wasn't really thinking about like what's missing. I was just reading what was
Sure.
there.
I was asking about a timeline because I really would like an opportunity to sit and stew over it a little bit.
Yeah,
It's a lot of information
Yeah.
to
yeah.
process, and I think it's very thorough. I mean, I'm just looking at the goals, and it's pretty thorough.
Mhm.
And it's the first time we're seeing it, so.
Yeah, I know, and it's a lot of information. I mean, I've written these strategic reports, and I'm really happy with the content. But if you really want us to drill down on it and provide specific feedback, I think that we might need to either plan an interim meeting or wait until June, which might be too late, so.
Yeah, so I think what I'm happy to hear you say is that you're looking at it, you feel like it's thorough, you feel like you're happy with what you're seeing. Unfortunately, we don't have time on our side. And in fact, it was part of why, part of the challenge of having a strategic planning committee is that we couldn't have every one of our board members on the strategic planning committee. We were fortunate to have Sue as a representative in those meetings, but we had, perspectives from different sectors of the community contributing to the conversation. So a lot of what you see in front of you is the product of many, many conversations, lots of language being sort of vetted and thought out. So I do want to say that my hope is that this is the beginning of a new process for us and that we do this every 3 to 5 years. And I can't say, that we will use a consultant every time. My hope is that we actually will take this process on ourselves, maybe not to the level that Anne has, but I think it's been a really good baseline experience. And we've collected some of our own data for the first time, which is really great.
Mhm.
And the commission has something to work off of as well
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, so I can appreciate that there's a lot of information. I'm looking for sort of first impressions. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of time, but I guess I can reassure you that there's been a lot of extensive conversation about what you see in front of you that involved us as a department, Sue from the board. We had the chief of police at the table. We had a selectman at the table. We had a English language development teacher from the middle school. We had Melissa Clark, who is the co-founder and president of the Gender Sexuality Alliance. Safdar Medina was part of the committee. So we had a lot of really, Cindy Beard, who's the outreach coordinator of the senior center, a lot of really fantastic points of view contributing to this and utilizing some of the data that came out of the community needs assessment to further bolster our development of
The
these
focus
goals.
groups and all different
And the
age
focus groups,
groups
right?
was huge, especially during this time when to be on a call with different age groups and
Mm-hmm.
seniors and
Mm-hmm.
so.
I think
Yeah.
this looks fabulous. I really think it's great.
I second that. I think it's great, a starting place. And I think you're right. I think that over time this will evolve. I have one question though. Have we
Mhm.
backed this up with I mean, I know these goals are somewhat informal at this point in time,
Mhm.
but have we backed this up with the resources you would need to accomplish these particular 4 goals and all the underlying steps in terms of financial support and resource, staff?
Can I stop sharing? Are
Yes.
people
Yes.
comfortable? So that is also part of the work I am doing with Anne right now is we're trying to create benchmarks for when we hope to achieve certain goals. For example, we had quite a long conversation on Monday about the IT needs for the department. And you've got to think like 7 steps ahead always, because how long does it take to go through the budget process? And once something's approved, how does it then get implemented? So it's not an exact science in terms of coming up with deadlines for things, but we're trying. The other thing that we're trying to work on is funding that might be needed, identifying which parts of the plan will need funding. So another reason why it's been really fantastic to have Chelsea Malinowski on the strategic planning committee with us as a selectman. She's going to be fully informed about why we are asking for certain things and when we might be asking for them. And she can, since she was part of the conversation with us, she's also incredibly resourceful and finding things that might be available to us now. For example, we are now using in the department something called DocuSign, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. The town already had DocuSign, but we weren't aware, or we didn't have our own access to using that with residents, and we now do, because Chelsea said, let's use DocuSign, and then she got the wheels in motion. And so yes, there are some parts of the plan that will have a need for funding. IT systems, for example, is certainly one of those. So, and that will all be enveloped into the final draft of the plan.
Okay. And when do we expect the final draft?
Well, I have one more week to work with Anne, and then she's going to be sharing that with me, and the hope is to again share this with you. We also have to share it with, there's certain parties that are have contributed to the plan. So for example, there's some data that the school department provided for us. So we need to make sure that they're comfortable with how their data is being represented in the plan. The selectmen are another group, also the Southborough Community Fund, who funded this opportunity for us. And then I know part of the fee that we paid for Anne includes a final presentation of the plan. And so she, and we spoke about this on Monday, that she would like to present that to you guys as board members. I would love to extend the invitation to others to come. It's going to be probably a Zoom presentation, unfortunately, but the benefit of doing that is that we could actually record it and reshare the presentation. So,
Sarah, that's fabulous, and I'm really happy that it will be up permanently on YouTube. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about when we can start meeting in person? Because Zoom is Zoom, but it's really lovely to have a permanent record of our meetings. I know people want to go back to in person, but I think it's really good to have our, partly it's an ad for what the department's doing.
yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
My personal thoughts, or what I think is going to happen?
Well, both of the above. How's that?
Preferences. I agree with you, Marguerite. I think by having these meetings online, it makes it much more accessible to people. I think we have more people viewing our meetings than we would have otherwise. And so I think there's a great benefit in doing that. And of course, I think there's convenience in us getting together this way. It's no substitute for being in person, certainly, but I have not heard anything in the works for a return to in-person meetings as of now. So that doesn't mean that it won't be an option, but you know, I haven't been told anything, so.
I know it's, I just was wondering if there would be some way to be like the selectmen, to meet in person, but to have a YouTube record of it.
Right. That's a nice idea, to have it be in person, but have it recorded still.
Yeah, like I suppose that's an IT thing that's way in the future, but
Yeah.
I just feel like it's really good to get our meetings out there because people understand more all the wonderful things that are being offered.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I do miss you all though. So.
yeah.
I know there is something about being face to face, and it gives it some more human depth, but I also do think that this makes it far more accessible to community members, which is really important for them if they would like to access our meetings. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could potentially get the video production people to come in and put it online. I don't know, but
Yeah.
something to think about.
Yeah. We haven't done this for a long time. It's 9 o'clock.
I
We have a lot to talk about today.
bedtime.
I know. You remember
My
our
quarantine
meetings used to always
bedtime.
be at least till 9 o'clock.
In-person
The
meetings.
last item on the agenda is a couple of reminders. So we've had some changes to the board meeting schedule over the last couple of months. For this month, it was because of yesterday's election. So our thought is that it will return to the second Tuesday of the month moving forward. And I just wanted to make sure that that's what you guys wanted to do and make sure we had our dates straight. So the next meeting then would be on June 8th. So
That's fine with me. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I presume it's fine with me, so.
Yeah. I'm
And then
okay.
the only other thing is annually, the board typically votes to appoint, I don't know, officers, is that what they're called, or positions within the board? Chair, and so, you know, you guys could probably recall, we were trying to expand responsibilities, and so there was chair and co-chair and secretary, and Marguerite graciously played the role of clerk for a while, and when we brought Christina on board, we were able to have her administrative support for a lot of the things Marguerite was doing. So typically you all vote during the June meeting, and so I just wanted to put that on the radar. I assume that that's what you want to do again, and so I just wanted to get clarification if you wanted that to be on next month's agenda, and if so, it'd be good for everybody to be thinking about that.
Yeah, I think it really has to be next month too. So from what I'm learning about rules and things, so yeah, so I think we have to be prepared to do that next month. It needs to be on the agenda.
Okay, we'll make sure that it is.
Christina,
All right.
Christina's doing a fabulous job of the clerk part. Thank you. I don't think I was very good at it, but she's really good.
She
Well, you
is
were
not,
fabulous.
she's not
were
you
great.
though, Marguerite. She's not you. Well, thanks so much, everybody. I guess we need to someone needs to make a motion to adjourn.
It's 9:12. I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Dombacher,
Bye.
Sarah Mikas,
Aye.
and Marguerite Landry.
Aye.
Wonderful. Thanks, ladies.
Good night, ladies.
Thanks, Shannon, for being here. Shannon looks like she's ready for bed.